Puking up poop is a trip.
That was going to be my next question.
You know, the cancer doc said, that sounds incredibly horrible. And I said, you know what? It wasn't. It was mildly horrible. I'd give it like a 3 on the horrible scale.
3 out of
10.
10.
The puking itself is not much different from regular vomiting. It's not like logs of stool. It's disgusting. Snaking their way out of your... wow. At least for me, it's quite a bit more like normal puke consistency. The weirdest part is you always take a deep breath after you throw up. So getting that waft of, yes, this is definitely poop, that's a moment. But then it's done. At least for me, blessedly, I did it 3 times throughout the day. About 1.2 liters of stool came out of me. And it was a brief, like, oh, I'm going to throw up. And then, whatever, you wash your mouth out, you blow your nose. It goes, just like regular puking, and then it's done. So that's the main reason it's not so horrible, is that it's a fairly brief experience. But it is still horrible. Like, don't get me wrong, it's not a taste I would deliberately do again. So I sat back. I was like, all right. My body's packing it in. I get it, despite every iota of energy and ingenuity that I had. This happened. I give up. And it took me out of my suffering. It had been such a cyclone roller coaster of a symptom worsening or something new showing up, doing everything to rectify it, or to even figure it out in the first place on the path to rectification, and then it fucking working and getting better and being like, oh, thank God, I'm gonna be okay. When my bowel obstruction would reverse, I'd be like, all right, I'm gonna be okay. Even if things just stay as they are, this is a livable status quo. And I bet I can make them better than they are now. Made it through that particular combination of herbs and breathing today seem to have done it. And then it would stop having done it. And the obstruction, my nemesis, would recur. And that wouldn't work again. Or some new thing. Or it would go back to some other thing that had been happening like a while before. And just the devastation. No, that wasn't me being okay. That was just shit working for a bit. And now we're back, and it's maybe even a little worse. Yeah, no, you know what? It is a little worse. And a lot of the symptoms of the bowel obstruction were very painful, very uncomfortable. And I've almost died from bowel obstructions 3 times previously. So every time that the obstruction recurred, it was like either I'm going to be okay or I'm going to die, because there was no more surgery available. Gets better, I'm going to be okay. I will be able to eat, nourish myself, live a fucking life. I'm going to die. It was like, there's not a lot of in between on how to parse every development that was happening in my life. And oh my God, it was tiring. I mean, I went past my threshold of suffering several times. I came to a place of giving up. It was a weird, like, semi-catatonia. Just not caring. My practices were so far away. Myself. I would just lie there in this lateral recumbent on my left, which gave the best odds of stuff passing. And every time a volume passed, I would put in something equivalent volume of nutrients, try to keep at least a manageable volume of stuff in my guts so as not to make the pain worse. So just trying to dial exactly what kind of nutrition my body wanted during these brief bits where some room was made. Like, yeah, I don't think I met my caloric needs for 3 weeks. Maybe longer. Give or take 8 weeks. Yeah, that's why I wasn't making any videos, because I wanted there to be some good news to share, and there just fucking wasn't. I'd have a day of reprieve and be like, okay, a couple more of these, I'll be settled enough and get a couple more of them.
You know, it occurs to me that you have a perspective on how to be healthy based on how you haven't been throughout the whole of your life. Is that true? Is there something to your life experience that sort of gives you, I don't know, some kind of do you have any sort of prescription? Like when they talk to the old guy, it's 97, you know, how have you managed to live this long in your life? And he says it's been smoking and booze every day or something like that.
Yeah, got to be the right brand of Marlboros. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, is there something of that you actually have that's given you, because as much as you're talking about all of this awkward stuff, I'm really struck with the fact that you're really comfortable talking about it.
Thank you.
The uncomfortable one here is me listening to it. So I'm wondering, is there something that you can give whoever's watching this video?
Oh man, I have loads to share right now. But you do touch on something, which is that when I stopped trying to fix my guts and ultimately resolve the cancer, it was like I got off this cyclical roller coaster emotionally. I was like, what's gonna happen is gonna happen. I will relax and just be. And that has spread to everything. Like what you just reflected. How comfortable I am sharing about the line that I came up with was, I had not expected puking up shit to be my moment of enlightenment. But it was. I honestly feel like I've had a moment of enlightenment. Something profound has shifted in how I look at the experience of being alive. And who I am and what just a lot of things. And to tie back to your question, advice, what do I have? Like, I feel like I'm in this incredible new phase of learning what it is actually to live rightly and what it is actually to be healthy and what medicine is. Like, I've just been going through the world in this fucking gray state. And I don't mean to, like, toot my own horn. I did not plan on it. I wasn't looking for it. I was just fighting for my life. Marsha, would you go get the painting from my bedroom, the one that is not the trees? Thank you. Yeah, it's large, it's framed, so, you know, take your time, be careful. Thank you. What was I on about? Yeah, this gray state. Which, yeah, I don't say it to, like, look at me, I'm doing so awesome facing my impending death. Like, I didn't plan on it. But first off, what we're experiencing is the fruits of half a lifetime of practice. I will, at this point, offer profound, that's the one, gratitude to Dr. Michael Smith of Nelson. I went to see him as a patient. He started teaching me Qigong, and I've never gotten off that path.
How long ago?
20 years. Half my lifetime. Without regularly dropping into a meditative space for so much of my life, I doubt that this would have been accessible in the way that it is. I still consider it something of a miracle, what has come for me, because, I mean, my mom's the only one who saw it, but the depths of my suffering were extreme. My sister saw it too. I was losing myself. And half a lifetime of practice, but 3/4 a lifetime of suffering with illness. So put them together, and when the time for fighting stops, there is really something to take its place, I suppose, is a way of looking at it. So my advice, buy yourself a time machine, go back 20 years, start meditating every day. I have kept myself in as good health as I can. You know, I have this whole YouTube playlist of like yoga sequences that could be done on a hospital bed that I spent a while finding and putting together. You know, there is no reason not to do these things, especially as we deepen our practice and realize it's a mental state more than any accomplishment of form. But, you know, that's a trite thing to say. But I'm learning a lot more about what medicine is, because this is being reflected to me enough times in these past couple weeks from people that I've been interacting with, that the way that I am facing death is impacting them quite significantly. And like folks in Vancouver who are like, I will never forget you because of how you've been. And they were there when I was rawest. And just straight up saying that, like, they will remember me as an example if they have the opportunity to face death, as a way to do it. And we'll get into that. So again, like, I want to be really mindful of seeming boastful, because, like, yeah, I was a really fucking good acupuncturist. I had good teachers. I had good fortune of the places I worked. Personally, for myself, I believe I've been doing this for lifetimes. And, you know, there's been like a really deep drive. Can I help you find something?
No, just checking.
Ah, okay.
I'm listening with both ears and checking with both eyes. Make sure everything's still plugged in.
Love it. You'd make a good motorcyclist.
Cyclist.
My motorcycle teacher said, you will never fall asleep riding a motorcycle. They never stayed up for 21 hours working the sanctuary at Shambhala and then motorcycled home in the mid-morning through the misty, rainy mountains. You can start to fall asleep while riding a motorcycle. You just have to be real fucking tired. Nothing happened. Like, but twice, maybe 2-3 times during that ride, I was like, oh shit. Bite your tongue. Yeah. So, yeah. Again, caveats. I feel like I am understanding what medicine is in a whole new way these past couple of weeks as I just be. People are impacted by my simple being. Like my beingness, from which flows natural action. People are healing. That sounds so fucked up to say. I don't heal them. There's something that they're encountering that is interfacing with them, and they are reflecting it enough that I can say it, that they're like working shit out in their own life and feeling like their relationship with being alive and being human and death and all this stuff is changing substantially and for the better. And like, holy shit, man, I'm not doing anything. I'm just being away. And this is about what medicine is, which has been my profession. And I'm just like, God damn, I'm doing the purest medicine of my life right now. And it's so beautiful, and I am so cherishing it. It's just like, you know, there's this part of me, yeah, it's just all I've ever wanted to do. And it's just, yeah, I feel profoundly blessed to be having this experience. Even though, like, my body is, you know, it's wasting away in front of me. Old injuries are showing back up because the compensatory muscles that I've built, they are now so weak that they don't do this new stabilization that they used to. Yeah, I'm living with the evidence of it. 2 days ago, there was this new funny pain in my abdomen. You know, blessedly, it didn't stick around, but I was like, well, maybe I now have a pain. And maybe more will happen from this pain. I don't know. Even though, like, yeah, I am facing my demise, it is extremely likely that it will be preceded with suffering. No, that is incorrect. It is extremely likely that it will be preceded with significant pain until the pain gets managed. And God knows what dysfunction. I spent a week in the hospital because one of the tumors had grown to the point that it was squeezing the ureters, the tubes that carry urine from the kidneys to the bladder. So I went for a routine fucking blood test, and the doctor comes in and is like, your kidneys are failing, go to the hospital right now. Fortunately, we put in these stents to bypass and keep the ureters open. But for a couple of days, it was like, oh, now is my body packing it in? Has my body just been through too much and my kidneys are failing? Blessedly, no. But shit like that, I could wake up tomorrow with the cancer having grown somewhere or invaded somewhere new, and all of a sudden I don't have the capacity I have, or my body's like, hey, it's time. You know, death is singing me home. My companion for all these years. I have had so many brushes with death. Very unusual number of circumstances where I totally could have died and didn't. Yeah. Death and I have been, you know, we've been communicating for a bit.
I would say that this profound awareness you have of being the teacher about health in this moment has been there the whole of your life. You've been teaching everybody that you know what it's like to be alive, because your life has been a pile of shit, train wreck, since fucking forever. And it's ironic that you have had this. I'm checking this out with you. Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to make a declarative statement. No. This is just what occurs to me. Because you've had so much wonkiness, for lack of a better word, between your neck and your navel in your life, you've been compelled to learn about what the fuck that is. So it's like your body said, hey, we're going to help you teach people about what it is to be alive. And you said, oh yeah, hold my beer. I'm going to learn more about this shit. Here comes acupuncture and Chinese medicine and all these other fucking things. Right? Like there's something really... It's beautiful the way that you've been dealt these cards and how you've played this hand.
Thank you.
And it fucking sucks. I see that in you, and I feel that from here across the room.
Yeah, man.
Right? I mean, it's...
There's other ways to do this. Are there? I don't know.
Well,
I'm accepting it.
But that's what I was going to ask you. It's like, could you imagine if living a life that would be any different? Like, I know that's
How do you mean? From?
Do you think you would have studied medicine if you weren't broken as a kid?
No. No, absolutely not. My first dream was to go into politics. It is a dream I have never lost. I was planning to run for municipal council this fall.
Here in Rossland.
Here in Rossland, yeah. I am... Where do I start? I love medicine profoundly. I do not believe that it is the path that came from my most authentic self. It came largely from my wounded self, and that's a well-established archetype. I feel it comes with costs. I do not know, though certain wise people have reflected that I was not quite good enough at not taking shit on from my patients. And I will accept that possibility. I mean, I was pretty good with energetic boundaries. I even taught a workshop, Cultivating Energetic Boundaries. And I had a busy-ass, uninterrupted medical practice for 12 years. Never had to take a break because I got burned out in any way. It's just these recent cancer journeys is really the only time I took anything resembling leave. I've seen people burn out from energetic osmosis in months. And it is entirely possible that I wasn't good enough. And stuff I took on from people has been a contributing factor to the development and growth of, development in the first place, nascence and growth of the cancer. It's possible. So I think that there are certain costs to life paths that come from a wound. And, you see it in athletes, you see it in all sorts of stuff. Yeah, I remember doing landmark with an Olympic athlete. And how much they realized it was just because they wanted their parent to pay attention to them this one time. And it made them, this one thing that happened gave them this whole story about the world that ended up with them, I think, fucking winning a medal, but they weren't actually satisfied because, I forget the exact story, but, their parents were still, not really, didn't see them. And another way of answering this, I am founding a memorial scholarship of myself, to myself, by myself. It's a very obscure Dead Authors podcast. Reference. L. Ron Hubbard, Part 1, of the Dead Authors podcast is, I think, one of the greatest pieces of improvisational comedy ever recorded. Part 2 is okay, but it's disappointing after part 1. I wouldn't bother. L. Ron Hubbard, part 1 of the Dead Authors podcast, which is generally a good comedy podcast. Everyone owes it to themselves to listen to this. Of myself, by myself, to myself, a memorial scholarship for students of Chinese medicine who are entering the field because Chinese medicine transformed their life and they want to share that gift with others. That is why I practiced. I would not have gone into Chinese medicine, in particular at least, had it not transformed my life and left me wanting others to experience this and to save them some of the suffering that had preceded this discovery of this medicine for me. Take some years off of them figuring it out. Yeah. So that's why I practiced. I practiced to share transformative medicine.